as we dive into Under the Skin of Eternity, the latest record by A Wake In Providence through Unique Leader Records, such an amazing record. It's a story, and DeAndre has confirmed that for us on both, like, personal level and narrative levels, with this very, very I don't even know, just romantic Renaissance style cover by the legend himself, Kalen Stokermans, as well as the logo, which fucking looks amazing. Um, Such a great album. Definitely going to be adding it to my top 10. As we get started, as we truly descend under the skin and kind of, like, peel open the skin, we start to see the tissue underneath the skin tissue. Whoever wishes to go ahead and just provide us a back of the book summary for what this album is supposed to be telling us, what the stories it's trying to tell us.
I can start, and then I know Adam will definitely have some stuff apart from some of the stuff I'm saying, and of course his own. The album is it's a very fantastic version of, like, just where I was at the time, where I was with my personal life and everything, dealing with anxiety for the first time, which before that I was a person who ignorantly said that you can control anxiety and it's all in your head. It's not. It definitely is. It was not as simple dealing with, and eventually working on it and getting it under control is much harder than it definitely seems like it is.
Yes.
Just I the album had a very, very, very dark idea when it started, but I felt I needed to pull it back a little bit.
Yes.
Long story short, it was intended to be, and I don't know if I can say the S word here. It was intended to be a kind of like a story of depression, anxiety, and the things that come with that, and kind of like being alone, being kind of just in your head.
Yes.
Being, as Adam said, being your worst critic, but also being very, like, bad to yourself, and really just not allowing yourself to be happy or allowing yourself to thrive, I guess, and grow.
Yes.
Maybe for whatever reason, and for me, I have my reasons for feeling those feelings, which, of course, those will stay with me. But that's essentially what it was based around. The album was really, really based around, again, the sensitive topic of the S word. I'm not going to say it because I'm not really sure how some of that stuff works in recorded media, but
Right, of course.
It was kind of like my dealings with that and thoughts and all that kind of stuff like that, and where that stuff comes into play. So much so, the an Odyssey Through the River, not to jump too quickly into the deconstruction, but an Odyssey Through the River actually started with a very, very dark idea, which I'll leave that, not putting that
Up for
too
interpretation.
out there. Yeah, it had a different, because I'm a huge fan of sound design and score and cinema sound and all that kind of stuff, which I don't know if that's obvious, but I've been kind of like, you go back to Insidious, for example, the very intro to Insidious, the song Doom that's just sound design that I just was in the studio working and adding part, taking this crying and pitching it and doing this, that, and third, blah, blah, blah. So I was creating a visual. I was creating a visual through audio with the original version of An Odyssey Through the River, but it was too far for me to put out, at least. And there's also there is also some reference to that in Weep Into the Abyss, For It Hears You Not, which again we'll talk more about later, but
Of course.
that also has some more of that context as well. But it's still there, but I just pulled it back, like, really far, because I didn't want it to be too out and in your face. So I kind of just pulled back some of that stuff. But that's essentially kind of like the concept of the album from a very like non-direct way.
Yes.
Because when you read the lyrics, I did my best at trying to tell that story through metaphor or imagery or something like that. So it's not so very clear. For example, like the Trinity, the tribunal, the wraith, the river, the field, like all of those are different concepts that I approached Adam with when it was like when I was writing the songs. I was naming them individually based on those concepts. So they were the original version of the album was intended to be titled "The Field," "The River," the Abyss, the City. Like they had different. Like each song was named after a different concept, a different conceptual part of the album,
Yes.
or a different part of the story. Which the short version of the story is the whole thing is meant to take place in your head.
Mhm.
There's this kind of like there's a trinity called the Trinity,
Yes.
which is the abyss, the the horror, the terror, and the abyss.
Okay.
So if you listen through the album, you'll hear that come up a bunch of times. Obviously, the
Yes.
horror of the old gods,
Mhm.
weep into the abyss, like all that stuff, like all the names and all that stuff continued to stay within the record.
Right.
Wraith, like all that stuff, and these are all just different words and names to refer to these different concepts of mental health or
Yes.
different concepts of transitional periods or liminal spaces, for example. So the river, for example, is the portal to the field,
Yes.
and those are just different ways to say when you die, for example, you
Mhm.
go from one place to another place to another place, and then from there, I took the more darker concepts that I was talking about before,
Yes.
that were more personal, and then I assigned those different names and different words and stuff to those different pieces. To I'm not going to go as far as to say create an allure or create something interesting to look at, but
Yes.
to be quite honest, is just to kind of hide the
It's a
the
for
As a
thank you,
metaphor, yeah.
thank
for something deeper. Like it's almost like a good way to describe it is I used to how people cover up traumatic things
Mhm.
with something else.
you.
And like, I used to work with this guy who legitimately believed he was Goku, and I both I was told the reason for that is like he had a lot of child abuse,
Mhm.
and he used Dragon Ball Z to like escape it. So it was
Ah.
sort of like just miraging what
Yes.
was really going on, and that's sort of
Mhm.
almost like what every song does.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um, but I
that's why
thought,
they all had those original names.
yeah, I also liked the river and the whole afterlife aspect to it because, like in a lot of cultures and religions, it's almost like universally that there is some sort of river to guide you to the
Yep.
other, some sort of body of water that
Yeah.
is involved
Yeah,
with a crossing over. So it
Mhm.
was we didn't, it
that
was very specific, but also very vague at the same time.
yeah, that's why I feel
So,
like when you listen to the album, you'll hear a lot of reference to water,
yes.
both lyrically as well as sound design wise. Like the song, like the album starts with rain, and it
Mhm.
ends with oh no, it doesn't end with rain. Oh yes, it does. I don't remember. I think it does. There's some dripping happening. There's different references to water throughout the album.
Right.
There's some lyrical references to it as well, and then like there's a lot of we I already wanted to do it, and then Adam brought a different interpretation to it, which is one of the reasons why me and him work well together is I'll have whatever the primary idea or the primary vision is. I'll have things written out or
Yes.
whatever, and then Adam will introduce a different concept that I haven't thought of,
Right.
something that he knows from his research of different things or his particular interests,
Yes.
and then I'll do some more research on that particular thing and find ways that it works within whatever my original vision was,
Mhm.
and then there you go. Now we have this completed idea.
Yes.
So like, you know, obviously since we're talking about it, we can kind of jump into Odyssey.
I am so very excited for this album. And I have merch that I'm pretty sure was delivered to an old address. So, also featuring Netflix and Chill, Barry and Ben Jerry's. Let's go. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
Odyssey was originally called The River. And if memory serves me correctly, I could actually no. Odyssey always started with clean vocals, which I decided after TBS TBM that I have to commit to it, as what I was saying earlier. I have to commit to it because if I don't commit to it, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen the way I want it to. It's going to be too much of a slow burn to get to it, or people aren't going to like. I was, you know, who gives a shit, dude? At the end of the day,
my band, bro.
it's not, honestly, dude. It's not even that. It really was. This album has a deep emotional connection. I have a deep emotional connection to this album.
Good.
And Adam does too. You know, like it was a lot of hours sitting in this room, or well, technically the other room before I moved studios, but there was a lot of hours sitting in these different rooms, or at my old apartment, for example, of just like trying to figure these songs out and rewriting and figuring this out and figuring that out. And then finally just saying, like, you know what? The best way, because I also do some screaming on the album too, but there's no other way to start this album to me with the particular concepts and the particular connection that we have to it, other than doing what I feel is one of the most emotional forms of art, or portraying your art, is singing.
Yes.
And to me, it was the particular emotion that was there in the words that are in that part. You know, it was a lot of like stuff that I've felt over the years, and just kind of like the different parts of kind of just like, for lack of a better term, calling out like God, for example, and like not calling out God in the typical metal way of fuck God, blah, like not that shit, but literally like I feel that the thing, because not as heavily as Adam, but when I was younger, I was brought up in the Catholic Church. But as I got older and things kept happening to me, I feel more and more distant from this thing, because I don't understand why this thing keeps allowing these things to happen.
Yes.
And then it started to change, and that's why you have like that there's a lyric that's in the beginning, which is God has forgotten my right, you know, and it's like you as someone, you know, coming up in the Catholic Church the way that I did, it was we keep going to church every Sunday, we keep doing communion, we do this offering, we do that offering, we do this, we do that, and a third, all this,
like
so
why
that this so that this thing will forever smile down upon you in the center, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but then why did my grandmother die out of nowhere for absolutely no reason, and no one can explain why?
Yeah,
you know, it's like that. Like to a kid, it's like, that doesn't make any sense. You're telling me that it's a good thing that this happened, but I you know, there's no what's the good thing, you know? Like I'm watching my mother fucking like just descend into sadness because of this. How can you tell me that, you know, this? So it's like different stuff like that, you know what I mean? Like this is that happened to me when I was in 2004. I was a kid, you know, or I was a kid, but that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. So like, so when I say like this album is deeply connected, I mean that, you know. And you know, I've been saying it to my girlfriend's not in the metal world at all. She's getting into it now because of being in this relationship. And she even said that she's like, she's like, I see the risk you're taking with putting like actual clean singing in the very beginning of a death metal record, you know. But yeah, I in the booklet of eternity, I thanked 3 people specifically, and that was Adam, Jesse, and Jordan, because they trusted me with a lot of these crazy ideas. And one of those crazy ideas is putting clean sync, like legit ass clean singing and harmonies and all that kind of shit into a death metal record. But that's because, honestly, dude, it made sense. It makes sense for it to be there from a lyrical perspective, a conceptual perspective, an emotional perspective. It's supposed to be there. So like, you know, that's where that comes from, as far as like the story, that storyline, because you know, that that song specifically is supposed to be the beginning of the end. And that's where like the more fantastic part of the story, or the fantastical part of the story, kicks in, where the main character, or the prime, or that particular character is essentially, you know, that is their again, I'm just to kind of come out with it, is that's the point in the story where that person is supposed to be taking their life. You know, wow, I'm getting choked up talking about it. That's where that comes from, and that's why when the song kicks in the way that it does, and when Adam comes into it,
Yes.
it's that immediate switch, because it's meant to convey that sense of calm is not, it's not a happy calm. You know, it can end abruptly.
Yes.
And that's what that was. It was like, I remember writing it, and originally it wasn't an orchestra, it was originally guitar. And I wrote the idea, I sent it to Adam. I was like, dog, I need you to send me a vocal. I need you to send me a vocal, record it however you can. I just need you to say this one word, which is light. I was like, I just need you to say the word light. They send it to me. I worked on the part, and I cleaned up all the vocal ideas. I did all the stuff. And then I just had that just come in really strong, because I needed to hear if it was going to work.
Yes.
Because in my head it sounded cool. It was like, all right, yeah, this is gonna be dope. Really soft intro into this really mean, evil, heavy part.
Yeah.
But that was before the lyrics were written. And then once I started writing the lyrics, then it started to take shape. And then it became the emotional roller coaster that it became. You know.
Yes.
Because that song is essentially the overture, which is why it's called An Odyssey Through the River overture.
Right.
It is the start, and it's telling you the emotional context of the album.
Right.
You know, before we even get into it, you know, just like, this is what you're getting into. It's going to be heavy, yeah. It's going to be sad,
Yes.
but it's also going to have, you know, a bleak feeling. You know, I don't want it to be uplifting. I don't want it to be, you know, I don't want it to be evil. I wanted it to be this album. I wanted this album to feel. I wanted
Depressing.
You to feel something. That's
yeah,
exactly. It's like I said to Adam, well, you know, when before any of the lyrics were written, before any of the concepts were there, just I think it was Horror of the Old Gods, and I think We Are Eternity were the first two songs written. And then when I started Odyssey, I remember saying to Adam, was like, I need this album to feel melancholy and just heavy, but emotionally heavy.
It works so well, man. It's unfortunate to say, but like, some of the best music just emerges from tragedy and just terrible times in your life. I know my first song, that's about some pretty shitty things that happened, very personal to me, and it's mixed with heavy and clean singing. So it's like the same way that you're explaining it, it allows for that emotion to be in there. And it just works so well, because in Odyssey Through the River, like, the first time I listened to it, I'm like, okay, so I'm literally just imagining the river Styx. And in Greek mythology, it's like, that's how you go into the afterlife. When Vikings die in real life, you know, they have that massive memorial. They're put in the boat, and someone shoots a flaming arrow, they set ablaze, and then they fade into the ocean. Almost the same exact way. And I don't even know. It's just a great way to start a record. 1, 2, reminds me of the Odyssey, as I've said before. And 3, especially when you're talking about taking your own life, because the royal S word, I agree with you that when it comes to that, it's like, it's almost like the calm that the album starts out with is just like, man, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. I'm drained. And then just like, when it finally happens, it's like, that's the heaviness is a good depiction of your surrounding loved ones. They're like, fuck. And you know, and like, it gets intense. And like, then we get started on this journey of like getting into that mindset and just understanding what's going on, or as what I'm kind of getting the impression from on the album cover. I almost thought that this whole album was meant to be like Lucifer taking back control over heaven or something. And that, you know, that's a redemption cycle. Even though this terrible thing happened, you're like, enough. And then you're taking charge, you're putting the effort in. And unfortunately, with the idea of someone taking their own life, it's a little bit more melancholy. It's grieving. It's not like enough, do it. And then everybody else is like enough. It's like enough. And then just silence.
Yeah.
And it's intense. So I didn't want to take that away from you.
No, you're good. Yeah, that
commentary.
Yeah, dude, you nailed it. You know, it's yeah, good, dude.
Oh no, I was gonna say, that's when it starts to get to that fantastical part of the album with Horror of the Old Gods,
right?
Which is I think it's like a really good segue into the rest of everything that happens thus far, like from there on, and it's honestly one of my favorite songs, and I know it's going to be fucking ass beater live because it's just so upbeat and so fun.
Yeah,
that's what I remember describing it as. Like, this is a fun song. Like, this is gonna be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait to play that one live as well. But
yeah, it was. Sorry, good.
No, you're good.
Before we moved on, because you mentioned the artwork, I wanted to say with the artwork too, like that was this like kind of like off idea I had for a long time about using Baroque era like paintings as the reference for like a lot of just like these really like dark old like pieces of art that I've always been a fan of, and just different painters and stuff from like the 1800s and 1700s and stuff like that. So I sent like a bunch of this stuff to Kalen, and I told him, I was like, look, this is what I want. This is what I want to see. I need to see a one character struggling against another one, being surrounded by other people that are not necessarily oblivious to what's happening, but they don't fully understand what's happening. They don't understand that they are part of it. They are a part of it, but they don't see how. That's why when you look at the artwork, there's no real, it's not a fight. There's no like, fucking sword and this guy's cutting down this other guy, or there's not fire engulfing everybody, or all the, the typical stuff that would kind of tell you very obviously, hey, this is about the devil doing X. There is, when you look at the artwork, at the bottom of the artwork, there is like that orange hue of almost like there is fire almost. But again, I didn't want it to go as far as to be like all of these people in hell, which is why they're flying, which is also why it's in a sky.
Yes.
And then the other piece of it being the one character is holding on to the other character by just that cloth.
Yes.
He's not holding him personally, which that's a reference to terror, or Siamo Legati del Terrore.
Okay.
Or we are bound by terror.
We are bound by terror, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that too. But the artwork is, the different pieces of the artwork are referring to different parts of the album, or different concepts within the album. And that was just like, I need to be able to, because that's how I work. And Adam can explain this as well, because I tell him, me and him we were on the phone 2 days ago, dude. Like, and I was just talking to him about some of the new stuff, and I work from images in my head. Like, I see an idea, or I think of a word or a title or something, and that's what I work to. I'll write a song, or I'll write the lyrics, or I'll write a vocal part or whatever to that. Yes. So when it came time to work on the album, me and Caitlin were just back and forth constantly. They'll send me a reference, like a quick draw. I'm like, all right, let's work on this idea. Or he'll send me something else. All right, cool, that's dope. Like a lot of that, because this is what I see in my head when I think of the album. But yeah, moving back to the album itself, horror. That's like Adam said, that was actually, that song was written around the TBS TBM era, which is why it kind of feels like that album a little bit. That song was written around that time. It was like, I really wanted, like Adam said, I wanted to just write an ass beater.
Yeah.
I just wanted to write an ass beater. And that song also had a clean chorus on it. Didn't fucking work. I just kept trying to make it work. But once I realized that I kept trying to make it work, that's when I was like, all right, I got to scrap that idea. And when we came up with that Play the horror of the old gods, like that.
Yeah.
That kind of like that vibe.
So
that
fun, man.
That shit was just like, it's super catchy. It fits with the groove. It has that really like upbeat feel to it.
Yes.
It's still a chorus, but it hits you in the face constantly. And fun small fact to it, since that wasn't originally the idea, and also Adam lives in Florida, it was like we were still going through the mix phase, and like I was still doing some editing and like sending it to the guys who was mixing it. And I hit up Adam randomly, like the middle of the night. I was like, yo, dude, I was like, is it possible within the next like 2 days, can you record 2 vocals? I just need 2 words. I was like, I just need you to do 2 words because I'm trying to make this chorus work. I need to make this chorus work because the version that we had that we were listening to with cleans didn't work. Right. I have an idea, but I need 2 words and I could do it. But if not, I get it. I can make it. But unfortunately, it was too late. The timing was not enough time. So I did some studio magic and I made it work. And that chorus ended up working out the way that it did. And then, and then obviously like over time, also that the whole ending breakdown was originally just filled with guitars and like ambient guitars. But then once I started doing all the orchestral stuff in God Killer and seeing how well it worked while I was writing it, I was like, you know what? I'll go through. I'll clean up some of the because it had orchestral elements in it, but it wasn't really that heavy yet.
No.
Because once I did God Killer, I committed to it more than I did in Eternity. So that whole ending just became just like apocalyptic monster that it is. And then Adam just fucking went ultra ham sandwich on it.
Fucking Arby's level, bro.
One of my favorite parts of that whole entire breakdown, Adam, I love your vocals. You're a phenomenal vocalist. My favorite part of that breakdown is the whisper. I think that's the heaviest part of that breakdown.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Heaviest part of the breakdown.
Whisper, motherfucker.
What'd you say?
I said I'm still the one who did the whisper, though.
I know. Technically speaking, we both did it. There's a secret. There's a secret one that's in there. There's like a little. There's a reverb version of it that's in it. I did it. I just threw it in there. I was like, I need like an extra tone to this little tail. So it's in there. It's real slight. It's real slight.
All right.
But it's definitely you. There's no question.
No, it's such a fun track. And like, I think speaking for A Wake In Providence currently, that is definitely the song that people are like, hey, do you know that song that goes, oh God, and like, oh yeah, A Wake In Providence, Horror of the Old Gods. Like, yeah, that's the one. Like, that's the song for you guys right now. I think. Just that song that you think of, and you're like, what is that song? You know, obviously I just said that, but such a fun song. And like, I think that happens to be the spookiest song on the record, but that's also what makes it so fun. Yeah. Because I don't know, maybe this is headcanon, but I remember the like in the background of that song, and I'm like, oh, because I'm like a big fan of spooky music. Like that's my whole fucking lifestyle right now. You can actually see the webs a little bit.
Cobwebs, yeah.
Freaking they're supposed to be glow in the dark too. Damn them, they weren't. But I love spooky shit. So when I heard that, and I think I remember hearing like some type of weird spooky, like corny spooky synth in the background. Maybe I'm remembering that incorrectly, but if not, it would work pretty well for that. And maybe that's the fucking headcanon is I'm like, this would go really well with spooky synths. But good God, man. I remember that when that song first came out, and like I remember the editing process for the Breeaction for that song, and I'm like, this is a fucking bop, bro. Like, I don't mind taking 3 hours to edit this or however long I took, because I edit the videos while I work. But so obviously we all here in session love the song. Let's go ahead and dig a little bit under the lyrical process and like the end product of what you ended up entailing for this compared to the rest of the record per se.
Horror, it was that's kind of like the let's at least start to talk about the concepts. I didn't want to go too deep into anything yet. Like we can't we already kind of like slapped you with this very like intricate concept in Odyssey between the cleans and the screaming vocal parts. And like when you like look at the lyrics for those two sections, like they're dramatically different, but they have a very, very similar concept as far as what they're dealing with. And then in horror, it was, let me start to introduce these things to you. You know, like let's start talking about this stuff. So the old gods, for example, the Trinity, the Tribunal, the field, the river, all that kind of stuff. Let's just start, planting the seed. So to be quite transparent, that song, yes, it does fit the story. Yes, it's a part of the story. Yes, it has a lot to do with it. But that was more for the song than it was anything else.
Yes.
Because it was like, this song is just heavy. It's just pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just be pissed off and heavy, and the lyrical content fits with that. I should pull the lyrics up while we're talking because it would make it even easier to remember them. But that song definitely has, the intro, for example, we're made to conceive and spin the lore. Like that's the first lyric in the song. And that is essentially just to say like, hey, bruh, you don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Like
let me guide you though.
We'll get there. But because the other thing that I wanted to do with this, like from a lyrical perspective, was to kind of play with perspective a lot. Yes. Not to say perspective a bunch of times in a row, but play with perspective. So like this song and We Are Eternity are from the perspective of the Trinity.
Okay.
Whereas Odyssey is from I'm going to say my perspective and Adam's perspective. Yes. Which plot twist is the same perspective. But again, we'll get there. Yes. Where Horror of the Old Gods, it was from the perspective of the Trinity and like kind of like starting to plant those seeds of like, hey, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're talking about. Because when we get to I'm looking at the lyrics and I have like in parentheses good chorus because I deleted the bad chorus. And I just put in good chorus, which hopefully it didn't end up on the album that way, but who knows.
Also, fun fact, the most streamed song on Spotify with 111,899 streams.
Horror?
Yeah, Horror. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. I look at the Spotify like artist thing every now and then, and those numbers kind of scare me.
Oh yeah.
I can only imagine what it is for other bands, but so yeah, at the in that big breakdown, there's the lyrics. So we spread the plague. This ritual will break in, cracking your cerebellum through the anxiety, from the anxiety.
Right.
Because that's like I said, like that's the thing. I'm starting to now tell you like these things are names for other things.
Yes.
So it's like the old gods is just your former way of thinking, your former psyche, and what you thought you were, or who you thought you were, and that's the horror of the old gods is just being like where you thought your mind is and how you think of yourself then with your new kind of way of thinking, which is
the
not
realization
really that good,
Yeah,
it's just like I oh my God, I was so happy, I was so positive, blah blah blah, yeah, and now I'm this, you know what I mean? Like now I am my anxiety,
right.
And then directly after it, I'm looking at it, it's like crippling everything, it's just like no matter whatever, like again that weight and realizing that weight of what that anxiety means to you, and I feel like that's something that as personal as the album is to us, that's something that we've all dealt with. You know what I mean? Like you look at the metal community, we all deal with stuff, and that's one of the things that brings us closer to this community or brings us closer to the music is that we all deal with something. Yeah. And this is a different outlet for that. Some of us create that music and that's our outlet, and some of us consume that music, which a lot of us
Yes.
do both, but
Mhm.
we consume that and that's our outlet, you know?
Yes.
So like something like that, for example, like it's the lyric is crippling everything you lock deep down inside your memory. You know, like that's what that song is about. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's starting that process, and it's a heavy song, and we're like, this is gonna be a heavy concept.
Right, exactly. And dude, anxiety has definitely been my main antagonist per se. So definitely something I can relate to, just crippling panic attacks and shit. Even recently with all my success and all of my at least compared to before, all of my efforts coming into fruition, every now and then just like it literally crumbles you down. It's like, what's going on? Why is this happening? It's like, doesn't matter why it's happening. You have anxiety, motherfucker. How are you gonna deal with it? And it's just, it sucks. But you know, as long as you're surrounded by good people and you have like the right mindset and you're doing as well as you can for yourself, that's kind of like how I operate. Like I could easily be on certain medications and stuff, but instead I'm like, one day my efforts will pay off and I will feel more confident about myself, or you know, anything like that. And therefore, speaking more specifically about Horror of the Old Gods, when I first listened to this and now I'm getting, you know, more insight upon the song, it's almost like, religiously speaking, most religions are headcanon. So it's like you might as well kill off the old gods that are your former ideologies, maybe your naivety, as some people would like to call it, because they're like, "Huh, you're just naive. You don't know how painful life can get." It's like, well, no, I absorb that pain. I absorb that misery. For example, my project, Blind Without Our Failures, the name itself is just like, we are blind without our failures, right? So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
without those failures, without those tropes, without you stumbling and just actually eating a pile of mud, you don't really know what pain is. You don't really know what misery or any of that is. But once you do, it's up to you to decide whether or not, you know, you make that next step and just continue going on with that knowledge in your head. Therefore, then you are blind. You continue to be blind if you wish to, but at least now it's without your failures. And with Horror of the Old Gods, it's like you might as well try to do your best to kill off the old gods that happen to be your former ideology. And like, what now? That's the most like crippling question I ask myself every now and then, is just what now? So it's like, what then are you doing despite the horror of the old gods? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really like, see, like that. This is the type of thing that I find very interesting, because it's like as someone who I spent all my time in this room and writing and this and that there, I don't really get to hear other people's interpretations of the songs, and that's my first time hearing an interpretation of this song, and that's, you know, it always interests me, because I know where my head was when I wrote this stuff, or I know where our head was when we were in here working on the lyrics or working on the ideas or working on
Yeah.
the parts. And then like knowing what both Adam and I said we were not going to do, and then hearing what people kind of like think about the songs, and then like it's a comment thread on one of the videos, and they're like going in on what it actually means, and what we're saying, and this and that there, and I'm like, you guys couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah,
You guys are
absolutely, man.
way off base.
Way off. Yeah, fair enough.
Adam, what do you got to say about horror?
I just really like the concept of like paganism, whether it be like heathenism or, you know, what counter polytheistic
Polytheism. That's what you're trying to get to. There you
go. I just think it's really cool. Like there's a lot of like subtle hints at like Norse mythology and like the Norse religion known as heathenism.
that would be ossature, by the way. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, but the term would be ossature. That's a Norse paganism. That's actually what I participate in myself.
Yeah, I mean, I would. There's different sects.
Yeah, definitely.
But
yes,
I love whenever anything Norse comes up. It's my favorite thing to see how Adam responds. I love it.
I wouldn't identify with that just because that specific name, I'm not speaking on any of the people you know, but that specific section of heathenism has had like a lot of slander with
All right,
it.
I'll keep that in mind.
I'm not saying you're like a part of that or anything. I'm just saying
It's your reasonings for
I'm very
reasons for separating yourself.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's my own reason.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, there's a lot of inspiration in there.
Sick.
Yeah. But yeah, I just really like anything like that. It's really cool.
I noticed too the runes that you got done.
Yeah.
in some of the recent music videos. I love to see that.
And some younger Futhark, and then I have Hugin and Moonin on the sides, and then you can't see it because my head isn't shaved, but in between where their wings meet, I have Vegvasir like right on the back of my head.
Yo.
Yeah, there's like these.
Don't you have Idrisil on your neck right here too?
Oh yeah, Yggdrasil, and then underneath it, you can't see it unless I shave. It's just like a cool little Trinity knot underneath my chin. But yeah,
anytime I got Norse questions or Norse theory ideas that I want to try to incorporate, I'm like, Adam, how does this does this work? Like, can I use this particular idea?
Yeah. Sometimes,
Adam's my Norse guy.
Respect, man. That's cool. I didn't know that about you. We gotta have plenty more conversations now.
I know I like wear it, but most people just don't know. So it's very easy to not get into conversation about it with people because they're like, "Oh, what is that?" And you're like, "Oh, it's Elder Futhark runes," and they're like, "Okay,
nice."
But like when you do meet someone who does know what they're talking about and can associate with you, then it's like, I don't know if I want to get too deep into this right now. But,
nerd out.
Yeah,
dude, definitely a conversation for another time. We got to talk about that shit, man.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think we both were able to just really incorporate influences and interests and things we just really identified with, whether it be like religious or mythically or lore from our favorite franchise of something, or we just really wanted to build this world, but not a specific thing.
Yeah, we didn't, and this is kind of we kind of unintentionally started talking about the album again as a whole. We'll jump to We Are Eternity after, but we really didn't want to. Of course, we did this after we put out God Killer, but we didn't want to make another run-of-the-mill death metal or deathcore record of, fuck God, we're gonna do this, we're gonna fucking cut God's head off and all this stuff. Even though we literally did that in the other song, but it's like we wanted to write an album that I'll rephrase that. I wanted to write an album that meant something, and it meant more than the typical, stuff that you're going to write an album about, or I wanted to write an album about something that people do write albums about, but I didn't want it to end happy. I didn't want it to be something fun and positive. Like when you get to the end of the album, it's actually the end of the album is a sad part of the album. It's nothing positive happened, and it's that's why, also why the album's called Eternity. It's like, these decisions are eternal. These decisions don't change.
Right.
They will be that decision, whatever it is, will be what it is forever.
Right.
And that doesn't have to be as heavy as the S word. It doesn't have to be that heavy. It could be as simple as anything else, really. It's whatever you attach to it, of course.
Yes.
Whatever your interpretation of it, whatever your interpretation of it, of course. And that's why, looking at the lyrics, there's some stuff in there that was written just because it sounded cool. Like there's a section in I think it's in Eldritch, which we'll get to. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever put on paper. because it was like this simple idea, and I was like, this is what we're talking about. Let's use that, But we'll get to that. We'll get to
Yes,
that
of
later.
course.
But We Are Eternity is on the docket. Looking at the lyrics. Okay.
The introduction to our characters, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It other than Odyssey, this one is the introduction of the connection of the Trinity as well as our characters.
Okay.
And kind of showing it's not until Wraith that really stuff I'm sorry, not Wraith, Terror stuff starts to really come about. But We Are Eternity was the second song written for the album, and that one is also still kind of has some semblance of TBS attached to it. It's a little further removed from TBM, but it still has a touch of it because it was still written kind of not too long after Horror. But from a musical perspective. But from a lyrical perspective, it was this idea that me and Adam had. It's a very simple idea of like, how can we just wanted to start a song that started with vocals, and that the lyric of incite the ritual to sever the flesh, that lyric changed a bunch of times, but we landed on that because it really helps kind of continue that concept and that idea, which we come to later as well, because you'll start to learn that this album, like the MCU, is very, very interconnected. A lot of saying one thing over here that doesn't mean anything yet until you get over here, then that means everything is like, oh, this now makes sense because this thing, it's a lot of that stuff. I like that form of storytelling.
I do too.
Where you kind of start in one place and then you get somewhere else and you're not fully there. You're like, what? And then once you get to another spot, all of those pieces,
all of it connects, all of it makes sense, all of it
exactly
combines. Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, it's like the that's when this song is when kind of like a lot of the concepts really start to take hold.
Okay.
For example, you have the one of my favorite lyrics in the song being I'll cradle your thoughts through this trying time. Because what the story is now telling you, or what the story that we're trying to convey is, there's these two opposing forces, and you have Adam's character and my character, which realistically speaking are the same character. They're the same thing. They're just different parts of the psyche.
Okay.
So Adam is really playing the darker part of the psyche, but not yet, and you don't understand that yet. That's why when you start the song with "I'll cradle your thoughts through this trying time," it's like, I'll protect you. I will protect you. Not really. It's like, I'm gonna let you. It's a false sense of security. That's really what it is.
Yeah, and it could be like, you could interpret that as intrusive thought too, if you're talking about like anxiety and just like human mentality, like intrusive thoughts. Like, yeah, I'm here to protect you, but realize that we're gonna fucking die someday. That type of shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's the deeper into this, the deeper into the album you get, you start realizing how much of it is really, really based in a lot of very concrete and very grounded concepts and ideas. I just used all these, grandiose ways to explain it.
Yes.
Like as the crown bears judgment upon your lives. Like that stuff. Like that. That's talking about very simple concepts of, you're the crown, because the crown is the Trinity.
Yes.
Like, again, all that stuff is connected, different ways to mask these different things, which at the end of the day, they all turn out to be the same thing. But it's, you tell yourself these things all the time. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. What are you talking about? I'm good. But you're lying. You're not. You're not okay. You need help. You need to say to someone like, hey, I need help. But not everyone can do that.
Yes.
That's why you have that. Lyrics like that throughout the record of like talking about the psyche, talking about I'll I'll like different ways of I'm here for you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
again, we keep coming back to that a very simple way of explaining it of you're your own worst critic, right? For
Yes.
example, just using that.
Mhm.
Even something as simple as that, like I'll write a riff and I'm like, this riff is fucking sick, and I'll go get a drink of water. I'll come back, I'm like, this riff is garbage, you know, and then it's just like, what happened, you know? But it's that concept of like you're there for yourself until you're not, you know what I mean? And a lot of people unfortunately are not there for themselves. And then you may go through a time where you're not, but then eventually you are, you know, like all that kind of different stuff.
Yeah.
But like the chorus, for example, like as I walk this field into the fear, oh, the abyss becomes real. At my feet lay despair, breathing clouded air. What's the end of it? Soon the rot becomes all I feel. And that's another thing, talking about using the rot. That was the other concept that I forgot, or motif, I should say. Like the rot is the kind of the lyrical explanation of the end.
Yes.
It's like your mind is gone. You know,
I love the way that you sung that too.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
That was a chorus that I was very unhappy with, for example, as we were talking about, until I sent it to Adam, and Adam was like, "This is quite possibly the greatest chorus you've ever written." Like, oh, my heart, thank you. But yeah, it's a lot of that, right? It's a lot of kind of just like this song is really helping from a grandiose like lore perspective. It's helping tell the story of all of these characters and all of these concepts, while very plainly telling you that none of it's real. You know, when we get to the breakdown, the big breakdown, which has the title track line in it, it says, "We are eternity." Like Adam fucking delivers the fuck out of that line. And I'm gonna be honest with you. For myself, Adam, he can speak to that, speak to this concept. That lyric, for some reason, it didn't hit me until after the album came out. And then when the album came out and it was time to, no, I'm sorry, not before the album, before the album came out, we were working on the music video. And we got to that lyric, and then seeing it, and now instead of hearing it, now seeing that lyric and seeing Adam's delivery of it and his physical delivery of that lyric.
Yes.
I was like, fuck, okay. Now that lyric is way more important.
Yes.
Because as I was going through and coming up with the track list, and I landed on "We Are Eternity." The song was originally called "Eternity," but we say "We Are Eternity" in the song. I feel that this album is a very good representation of who we are, and the lyrical concepts for myself, and I'll let Adam speak to this. I feel that that's who I am. You know what I mean? Like the lyrical content of the album. So when we got to that lyric of "We Are Eternity," it was like very clearly stating in the song from a lore perspective, hey, me and you are eternity.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's again, those are those concepts of there are two people in the story, which realistically is one person. So it's like that's flat out saying it. We are eternity.
Right.
It's like it does.
I love it.
Sense yet.
Yeah, and
Adam,
yeah, there you go.
Oh, this is like "We Are Eternity" was like one of my favorite songs, even from like the concepts of it, because the breakdowns in it are just so awesome. And I really liked that there's that big chunk in the second breakdown in that song where you just get to show like just sort of my vocal prowess, and also just with like really good delivery. That breakdown is probably like one of the most like intricate but like passionate and angry breakdowns that I had the pleasure of recording. Like between like the main lines of it are low gutturals, but like background you have like these nagging, really like fierce mids backing up what the original lyrics are with like no gods, no masters. It's almost like someone's making a speech and he has like a whole army behind him that knows what to say. So,
it's like
really, really.
I'm scrolling to the part because I'm trying to remember the lyric before it. The handing out sentences from a seat at the high table, acting as counsel at the behest of God, and then the no that kicks in directly after it. It's like, oh man, it just it just feels like, because the other part about that, which is the which I feel is what makes that breakdown so heavy, is the silence. There isn't a lot of until the second half of the breakdown. There's not a lot of instruments in the beginning of that breakdown. It gives you that triplet hit, and then all the stuff drops out and is just Adam.
Right.
Like it's Adam, and I think like a string noise in the background.
Yeah. Oh, it's so great. And I think too, like as we're getting more familiar with this record lyrically, and you guys are telling the story of it, this album with the two halves of the psyche, the two halves of one person, reminds me hella of Whitechapel's Kin, because that record, like literally the reason the album cover looks how it is because it's Phil Bozeman battling with his intrusive negative self. And through all that he has been, which is depicted on the Valley and Kin, he's like, I mean, we could easily kill ourselves and just be with our parents, but we have a life to live. We have a legacy to forge. And like that's one of the reasons I love that album so much, is like it's him, the most personal that you can get, battling with yourself and getting through this this rough patch in your life. So I thought I should let you guys know that in that form, Eternity and Whitechapel's Kin actually connects a lot. But they're drastically different musical elements to Eternity. But yeah, absolutely, like such a great journey that we're going on so far with the lyrics.
And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, or at least the what I think would be the last thing I personally want to touch on with We Are Eternity is like the more black metal section in the middle of the song before the breakdown we're talking about, where me and Adam Adam and I, we were, obviously there's this dude is a wealth of lyrical, not lyrical, I'm sorry, I guess you could say vocal ability.
Yes.
So when we're in here, I have headphones on. He's either standing right next to me, sitting right next to me, behind a bunch of blankets, whatever. He's in the room, and we can only hear each other. So in that situation, it was a conversation that me and him had, and it birthed one of my favorite things that we've ever recorded, which was what we dubbed the witchy highs.
Okay.
Which was, all right, everyone's doing the tunnel highs. That's what we're all doing. Okay, whatever. Yeah, cool. We could do all the low stuff. Adam could do the lowest shit on the planet. Dope. That's great.
Yeah.
It was, what can we do that will give a voice to a part, right? Like, what can we do to give a voice to a lyrical part? And the lyric of I try to remember it. For I am the personification of torment and time.
Yes.
Like that. Like I was like, we need you, because like doing that as a regular high, yeah, it sounded cool. Of course it did. We did it as a low underneath. Yeah, it sounded dope, but it was like it's missing character.
Yes.
It's missing something. It's like, because we did the whole part, because the part for I am the personification of torment and time, roaming the lands, tending the rotten, and then there's a background that screams forgotten. Doom foretold, of which you don't know, kept in the searing dark of black silk veiled eyes, set forth by the abyssal tribunal. It's like all of that stuff sounds cool if you do it as a high. Of course it does.
Yes.
But it was like, we need to do something different. We got to do something else. So we just like, Adam can explain it more than I can, of course, from what he's doing. All I can say is the particular tone, and that's something that comes up throughout the album every now and then. We didn't want to overuse it, but we use it to what I feel was enough on the album. Of course, we could have used it more because I personally love it, but for it to not become, and this is something that you'll see as a trend with us, just the different ideas and concepts that we go with. We don't want to beat something into the ground. We don't want to fucking do every single vocal style all the goddamn time, all fucking always and forever. It's like, let's instead of doing a regular high or tunnel high or whatever, let's find something else. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It doesn't have to be something. We're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
We just want, or I should say, I want our music and our vocals to be one piece.
Mhm.
So when you listen to the band, you listen to a part, it's, yeah, obviously that's Adam Mercer, but you're like, wait a minute, is this A Wake In Providence? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what I've always looked to do. That's why I'm like, anytime when you listen to our music, there's no, like, Adam, we all know Adam's a fucking beast. We get it.
Yes.
We know that. we are doing we are doing something that a lot of people are already doing. You know, again, we're not
Yes.
trying to reinvent the wheel, but
No.
I want us to be a one unit. I've always looked at it as, we are A Wake In Providence. It's just,
Yes.
this is what it is. This is the piece. Here's the music, and there's everything. And it's not the music with the vocals sitting up here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not, here's the music with a bunch of different vocal, like it could,
No.
this could be 12 different vocalists and you'd have no idea.
Yes.
You know, no, it's, yeah, we'll do that. We'll do it when we feel it's necessary to do it. But at the end of the day, the vocals are slotted right into the song. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're one picture. So it's like, how can we mix, you know, a vocal style mixed with all these kind of like grandiose ideas, or these really fucking descriptive and dare I say, evil sounding lyrics? You know what I mean? Like with that part, like for I am the personification of torment and time. Like that's you saying, like, well, not you, but that's me. That's us explaining, this part of your brain has been there forever.
Yes.
And it is your literal creation of your torment and the time that you spent with it. I'm almost spoon feeding it to you, and then I'm throwing it out. You know?
Right, exactly. And it works.
And
I think it works really well.
And then using something that Adam was like, yo, let's fucking try this sound and let's go for it. Here's something I'm working on. Here's something I've been workshopping. I'm like, hell yeah, let's try it. We do it and we keep refining it because I think we recorded that out. We recorded that originally a while back. We sat on the pre-pro vocal for a long time. And then when he came back to my house to re-record some stuff or finish the album, it was like there were certain things we needed to hit again and some things that we couldn't.
Mhm.
Like there's some takes on the album that were from the original pre-pro version because we caught the magic of that vocal take. And it was like, that's just what it is now, you know?
Yes.
But this is one of those ones that Adam, I'm sure, you know, he knows better than I do.
The Witchy High was like there's just like the classic, like I feel like most people would say a good deathcore high, like you might like them raspy and not as high, or you like just really, you know, a reasonable level of high, maybe not screeching, but like Rings of Saturn,
right,
or original Chelsea Grin. Yeah, just like the really pointy
yeah.
But I wanted to take what I already could do and instead of pointing it up, just point it out.
Yeah.
So
direct.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and that was like the birth of that. But it really was like just from pointing it outward and just trying to do something different. Yeah.
You got it, man. You got to add to the pot, otherwise people aren't going to look your way, unfortunately. I mean, fucking sure as hell, just like DeAndre doing the cleans for TBS and most of this record, really. That's what stands out to me when it comes to A Wake In Providence. Is like, this is the first band in Black and Deathcore to make cleans work. And I love that. But obviously also the Witchy Highs and shit, which we're talking about, absolutely iconic, and plenty of vocalists right now that I'm comparing to your spectrum of vocals, Adam. And I'm just like, yeah, this dude sounds a lot like Adam, but I like that. You know, I'm familiar with that spectrum. That's what I'm calling a lot of them, because it's like so many people do so many different techniques, and they happen to tweak them a little bit, and it's like, oh, so this like that could easily be a Dan Watson, or that could be a Phil Bozeman, you know, all that type of shit. It just like it all gets so specific now because it's 2022 and there are hundreds of us.
But yeah, man. But yeah, I think you mentioning the cleans on the record is a good transition into the cleanest song on the record.
There we go.
We are bound by terror. This is, I think as a collective, this may be our favorite song on the record. It definitely is I would say for, I want to say it's for obvious reason. It's the song that's probably the most emotional one. But this was the track that, like, I don't know if you follow Jesse on social media, excuse me, on social media, but he pointed out stuff about this song and kind of where he was when he recorded the track. Which, man, we haven't talked about Jesse and Jordan enough, but Jesse, I got to shout that kid out, hard body, because he was able to take the insanity that comes out of my head and play it. Because it was when I was writing these drums and I was writing this record, he was not in mind yet. And then it was like, oh, now he is. It's like, all right, cool. Hopefully you can do this, dude, because this shit's going to be fucked up. And when we were recording the album, we started off recording it with, I want to say we did horror first because it was easy. But then we immediately went to Court of the Trinity, which is the worst song on the album in the sense of playability.
Oh, right.
That is a technical death metal. It's a tech death, just 7-minute beast.
Right.
And I'll never forget, I very rarely feel bad for like musical stuff. I felt horrible. Felt horrible while Jesse was recording that song, dude. It was, I'm sitting there like, dude, why did I do this? Like, it's like, but whatever. We'll get to that later. But
we'll
the
get
point
to that.
is, he recorded that song and then we recorded this, and it was he says this is his favorite song to play on drums. It's the most fun song to play on drums, but it's also still an extremely complicated song. And this was the one that kind of like he got that reinvigoration of, yeah, this is gonna be good after we I put him through the gauntlet for almost like 4 days of one song. And then he was like, and I immediately regret my decision because this is also still hard. But even through that kid fucking ripped and got through this song. And this was the one I was very interested to see live because, yeah, I sit here, I write these songs, I hear the same parts over and over and over again, whatever. But actually seeing someone play the song, it changes the perspective. It changes the way that a lot of this stuff feels. And then that kind of goes into the music video, and we each have, and in this case I'll say me and Adam, because I obviously I can't speak for Jesse and Jordan, but Adam and I both have like had different experiences with this song when we were filming the video that we just put out. When we got to my parts in the video, the whole time I'm running around, I'm saying, okay, this is what you're going to be doing, or I'm working with the guy, the dude who did the video, Toddy. Shout out to Toddy for our last 3 videos, right? 3 or 4, 3 videos.
3, yeah, I think 3.
Right. Eternity,
or
3, right? Yeah,
including God Killer, that could be 4. I don't know if he did God Killer though.
He didn't do God Killer.
Oh, okay.
So then it would be 3, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So shout out to Toddy for those, of course. But I'm like running around, I'm like looking at the shot list. I'm telling him what the next thing is we're doing. We're doing this, that, and third. And then finally it's like, okay, we got everybody else. Now it's time you do your shots. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I'm been fine this whole time. I go to start, doing my parts or whatever like that. And then when certain parts of the song kicked in, dude, I like that welling up feeling happened.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy shit, this is like this is the closest, because before this, because keep in mind we haven't played any of these songs live yet.
Yes.
We actually haven't played any of these songs together yet. We've been doing the pieces separately,
Bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, and we recorded it. We recorded the guitars. Jordan was here. I recorded my guitars. He recorded his guitars. I re-recorded my guitars. He re-recorded some of his guitars. I re-recorded some, like, it was a lot of that stuff. But that was the closest we came to playing it together. And then when Jesse was tracking the drums, I'm sitting there. I don't have a guitar, but he's tracking the drums. You know, Adam was sitting next to me tracking vocals, and like we're doing these in all different places and different pieces, and we were never together while tracking the album, other than different people being with me to do stuff. But this song, it just I can't explain it. I can't really give you too much about why. Something about this song, man. It every time, it's like a punch in the chest. And it's not even like a painful punch in the chest. It's one of those just punches. It's just, it hits. I won't even say you. It hits me. Just as soon as that like intro, just dark, gritty guitar part comes in. It's something about that expansive reverb on this one guitar part before the vocals kick in that just creates that like distance, you know what I mean? It creates that cold distance. And then this is, now speaking about it from a lyrical perspective, this is the first time I think, if memory serves me correctly, the first time in the album where you start to see from a lyrical perspective that Adam's character is in fact not there to help you.
Right. Okay.
Because the first lyric, the line in the song is, "Here I lay, bound to the hunt, stalking my oblivious prey."
Okay.
And then it's "bound by the river," I think it is. Oh, claimed by the river.
Claimed by the river. Okay.
So again, you know, those constant connections and stuff. But the interesting thing about this song is that we each, and Adam and I both, have separate reasons why this song really does hit us. And they and the lyrics mean different things to both of us, and I find that to be, you know, quite interesting, because it's something that you know, no matter who you are, even the people in the band, we have different reasons for having connections to these songs, you know. And this one, just even just from a lyrical perspective, again, this is when you start kind of starting to see that, you know, because when everything like kicks back in again after when the song really gets going. With the blast beat section, the lyric is "fear my mind," which you know, I'm gonna leave that section to Adam, because I know that's very personal to him. It's this song has a lot, dude. It does a lot. Yeah, dude.
Like DeAndre said, it's a very like emotional song, and I will preface this with, I do have to get Jess from work at like 10:30. So I probably will have to hop off.
That's fine.
After this. It's very emotional. I had a really hard time practicing it, and I think maybe recording it. But just really builds that ball up in my throat, and the lyrics that really, like the beginning of the song, the "Here I lay, bound in the hunt and wake, I stalk my oblivious prey." Like just the feeling and the tone of it is already like melancholy and unsettling. But once you start to get further into the lyrics, like, and I didn't even realize it until like after we did the pre-pro for it and listening to like me actually doing it. But I have a sister who has like struggled with cancer for a while, and specifically brain cancer. So just diving into, like, yes, there is this psychological aspect to it, but one that you wouldn't expect because it's super specific, like to me, is "Fear my mind, once a lush land of gold, has become rife and barren, tainted by unclean souls." And it just reminds me a lot of my sister, because she's still lucid and she's still there, and like very much so her still, but it's a very blurry version of her.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of a unintentional metaphor for that. Like she used to, you know, be so outgoing and you know, upbeat, and seeing her go from that to, over the years, how she is now, I don't want to say it's sad, but at the same time it is. Like, I don't want to say it's sad because it's my sister, but at the same time it is, and that's the hard truth of it. And that's just sort of some of the things we tackle in this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to backtrack, but in We Are Eternity, like, maintain the mental seclusion, that, like, that mentality is just you know, another piece into this, just
Yeah.
sort of cloaking like the mythology and the beautiful lyrics, like cloak what's underneath them. But yeah, that meaning was like really specific to me, but it just really got me.
Yeah.
And yeah, and DeAndre's singing is just perfect in it. It's totally not forced. It's almost as if, like, it feels like someone came up behind you and you didn't even realize if they were patting you on the back, but you didn't realize until they were, like, doing that. Almost like, oh,
reassuring.
yeah.
Angel
So,
on your shoulder type of thing.
Yeah. Not anything like, it's just almost like, oh, I didn't even know I needed to hear that in this song. But yeah.
It's you know, there's also I reference one of my favorite poems by W.B. Yeats in this song as well, because it's like the, I guess this is technically the second verse, or the verse, I guess it's hard to say, but it's kind of how we start to pull back into the story a little bit, while still maintaining that again, that you know, that sadness and that just like that, I don't know, that heavy weight and emotional feeling, like the part, lay your heaven at my feet, things once blue and dim in the end will nourish me. I'll tread softly upon your dreams, soon they will be ripe for the rotting. Once gold and silver and embroidered cloth have been lost in the culling. It's like, you know, it's like going through that, like it's a lot of, the poem by W.B. Yeats is not exactly that. Obviously it's similar. There are concepts pulled from that poem and, like, placed into this, like the lay your heaven at my feet part, for example. And like that's one of those kind of, like, it's a the end of that poem being tread softly before you tread on my dreams.
Yes.
It's I'm nothing but a poor man, and I only have my dreams. Like, I have nothing else. All I have is this. So I'm giving you all I have left.
Yes.
So please,
help me.
Please don't fuck it up. You know what I mean? Because that's the only thing I have left. But the thing is, you're hearing it from the other side, and that's the side that's not there to help you. You know, like,
right?
Because from a lyrical perspective, that character is telling you, hey, bring me all you have left and I will take care of it, but I'm going to take care of it in the way that I see fit to take care of it. And in that situation, again, talking about it from the perspective of the story, it's a very dark story. So it becomes a matter of it being, give me all you have left, all that's left in your mind, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to destroy it. Because again, it's that other side that you don't want to listen to. You know, it's that side of you that's saying you're not good enough. It's that side of you that says everything everything you do is worthless. Right. You're worthless. It's that part of it, right? Because at the end of the day, if you strip away everything you have, all of your the computer I'm talking to you guys on, my phone that's sitting right next to me, my screens, my guitars, whatever, you strip all that away, the only thing you have left is your thoughts, is you and who you are. But if you give that away, if you get rid of that, or if that's the thing that you are, or you know, obviously not you literally, but that's the thing that's being attacked, or that's the thing that you're saying, or you hear in your head that's not worth anything. Where that's the most valuable thing you have. in this context, it says, like I said, I'll tread softly upon your dreams. Soon they will be ripe for the rotting.
Yes.
And remember, the whole point is coming to that end, and the end of the story is that everything is over. You know, and knowing that it makes it that much more complicated for us, right? You know, like we want to put out a good product, you know what I mean? Of course we want to have fun and make music, but it's like when you sit and you kind of pay attention to what it is, because I can tell you, dude, while we were recording this and while writing these parts and all that kind of stuff, we were like, oh, that's sick, that's gonna sound super cool. Or I would send a paragraph to Adam like, hey, here's a part I wrote, you know, like just different stuff like that, and we're excited about it. And it's not until it's done and we listen to it and we hear the delivery of what it is, and when it's tangible is when the stuff starts to make that much more sense. And that's why when you have a part like that, or really anything else throughout the song, which I'll jump to the pretty much the climax of the song in a second, but you have a lot of those concepts that we talk about throughout the album being very, very final and very, very very upsetting, you know. And again, that concept of you got nothing else but yourself,
right?
You know?
Exactly.
So when you start to break that down and you become your worst enemy, then you don't have anything else left. All of that is lost to the culling of you attacking yourself. You know?
Love this song. For one, for two, when I remember noticing the primary title, I'm like, what does that mean? And then I'm like, oh, duh, there's parentheses, and it's like, we are bound by terror. I'm like, bingo, anxiety, and like intrusive thought, the negative side of yourself. And with the insight, with the explanation that we're getting, this definitely reminds me of like me always, like people, a handful of people have always thought of me as like naively optimistic, right? Very hopeful. I like to have a positive outlook on things, and every now and then it's like, but what if I like stopped being the nice guy? What if I stopped being so optimistic? What if I stopped sometimes letting people walk all over me? And I kind of decided to submit and kind of surrender all of my more positive aspects and all of my optimism, my spirit per se. And like, how would that end up? How would that result for me in the future? And that's kind of like what this song reminds me of, is that process of like, damn, like adults always have seemed so bitter to me. Or like, when I say adults, I mean like my parents' generation and shit. Like they it seems like they gave up their hopes and dreams a long time ago and like almost became black and white instead of being so colorful. And that's also what the song reminds me of. But that's like that would be my commentary on it.
And then you know, that's an immediate and obvious representation of why the song is in black and white, or why the video is in black and white. You know, it's like we when I was putting together the treatment for the video and I was coming up with all the shots and all the stuff and all the concept photos and all the like the vision board, I guess you can call it. It was all in black and white. But I didn't want to commit to it yet. So when we were actually doing the video and we got the first cut, it was in color. I did tell Toddy, I was like, hey dude, just desaturate it though. Like desaturate it, because I don't know if I want to commit to the black and white yet. Let's just do it desaturated and go from there. We'll keep some color in it. And he sent me the cut, and before we sent him any notes at all, the first thing I said was, send me a black and white cut as well.
Okay.
Let's just see. I told the dudes, I was like, let's just see it. You know, that's what my vision was initially. It was, this has to be in black and white. Because I want it to be, as you know, it's this song is very clear to me, at least. It's very clear.
Yeah.
And it is black and white. It's very obvious. Which is part of the reason why, ironically, I did obscure the title a little bit by putting the title in Italian. Because it was, I know everyone doesn't speak Italian. I know that. I don't speak Italian. You know, so it was like, but I wanted to obscure that title just a little bit. Because everything else is so clear and obvious.
Yes.
So that's what that was. But when he sent that cut in black and white and I sent it to the guys, and Adam's immediate reaction was, yes, this is what it was supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, and seeing it in black and white, and then like, obviously the world will never see it in color, but seeing it in color, it was like, yeah, this is a cool video. And then seeing it in black and white, it was like, holy shit, this whole song, like it became one piece.
Yeah.
And it did that thing I was talking about earlier of becoming one picture.
Right.
You know, and like working off of these ideas and all this stuff. Cause like one of the and I can see it right now looking at the treatment. The first image in the treatment is that falling, like that falling into that emptiness. I was like,
Yes.
I told Toddy, I was like, we need to figure out how to get that to work because I need to be falling. I don't know how we're gonna do it. We gotta figure it out. And we managed to do it, and it looked great, you know. And it was a lot of that kind of just like that falling into that darkness that's just never ending, you know. And that's why there's a lot of that empty space. And there's we're in that area for the like that nice area for the performance shots, but
Yes.
for the more intimate and close-up shots, we're in that deep expanse of blackness.
Yeah, I love it.
You know,
It's a great touch.
and they're all metaphors and all different stuff to you know, the whole thing. And then just to round out this song really quickly, I know we've got to jump to other stuff. The middle section where we come out of that breakdown and we just go into the clean singing part, which is the intrinsically such claims should bear terror, but fear escapes me. You know, like coming out of I should actually go back just a little bit, sorry. The breakdown is two vocal parts happening at the same time, which is drowned in your mind. That's the main line. It's just really extended for a long time. But it's the vocals around it that completes the idea, which is under the weight of seclusion in your mind, because they come together at the same time.
Yes.
So when he says drowned, it's drowned and then under the weight of seclusion. So it's like we're completing two different lyrical ideas on top of each other.
Yes.
So it's finishing that and kind of like continuing to tell that part of the story of you're the thing that again I was saying earlier in the song, that your most valuable possession is the thing that you are allowing, or maybe not allowing. I don't want any of the things that I'm saying to be taken as me undermining what people go through when I say that kind of stuff. But
right.
You know, it's like I'll say it for myself then in that case, like me undermining my own mind, you know, undermining myself and saying that I am not good enough, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. So it's like drowned under the weight of seclusion, that emptiness. I put myself there. I'm in my own box.
Yes.
You know, and that box is bad for me because I'm saying that I am the worst person in this box, you know, or whatever it is that I'm doing is the worst thing I've done that's in this box.
Yeah.
You know, the song I wrote is the worst song I wrote, or that thing I said to my girlfriend in 1997 is the worst thing that I ever said to somebody. You know what I mean? Like whatever thoughts you have, whatever's there is the stuff that gets locked there. But as you go through that part, when you get to the screaming wraith spells out doom, and then following directly after that is my part, which is the intrinsically such claims should bear terror, which is like inherently inside, you know, that all of what we're saying should be bad.
Yes.
All of it should be bad. But we get to that, the second part of that being, but fear escapes me. A sudden calm engulfs me in tapestries sewn by the Erinyes, which is that's a Greek mythology reference to the Erinyes. But it, you know, it's that piece of, there is something there. We can't really tell what it is just yet. There is something there. That's why in the video you have the witch. She has that cloth that she's like messing with and like sewing. And that whole we're bound by terror. And then Adam says directly after my part directly after the part where me and him are going back and forth vocally, Adam says we are tethered in the end. Again, this is the time where we're telling you, bro, this is the same. This is all in here.
Yeah.
It's all there. It's all who you are. You know, it's like they are the same, you know. But Song by the Erinyes, and then you have the what do you want to see? And it's like, just show me the truth in the end, but that will expose me. You know, like it's like if I tell you what the truth is I'm also telling you who I am, and who I am is you. But then you get to the end of that part, it's like your lies keep growing thin, because like the more and more you tell, the more and more things you say to me, and that literally is a reference to the album. But the longer you listen to the album, the more and more you'll start to see these things are not true, or these things are this, or they're lies, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
To show me the truth in the end, but that will expose me, and then your lies keep growing thin. And then he says, worry not, you won't need them, for we are tethered in the end. You're not going to need the lies, because you'll find that you'll realize it. And I'm going to tell you flat out, we're the same, and that's where a lot of the kind of story perspective comes in. And there's a very common thread here, which, I tried my best to jump between the story that's constructed, and then I also wanted to continue to tell my own story, you know what I mean? Or the pieces of the story that can be interpreted by different people, to the point where the vocalist that's screaming it has his own interpretation of what it means, because it's meant to be something deeply connected. And I feel, and this is something that me and Adam have both said seriously as well as jokingly, that me and him are connected. And it's just to the point where, and the joking part of it, not to bring the mood to somewhere else, but the joking part of it is, me and him tend to FaceTime each other, and we'll both be sitting on the toilet. It's like, it happens frequently.
Right.
It's like, I'll just call him real quick, as we FaceTime a lot. I'm super big on FaceTiming people who I love, people who are close to me, who I can't see frequently. I won't call you on the phone. I don't like texting. I'll FaceTime you. I want to see you. I want to see you when I talk to you. So I FaceTime Adam, and it's like, for example, like I said, I was referencing me and him talking the other day. I called him by accident and immediately hung up, and then I FaceTimed him. He's like, "What are you doing?" Not the point. We gotta talk.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel that again. I'm gonna say this real quick. I know Adam's gonna jump. Go ahead, Adam. Say what you're gonna say, and then I'll continue.
Oh no, I was gonna say I actually got to get going.
Yeah.
But hey, Sean.
Yes, sir.
It was awesome talking with you, bro. I know it's been like a long time coming. But I'm super glad that we got to do this, and that we got to have some face-to-face time. It's been awesome, and just talking about the concepts and everything with you, and giving you some insight has been great, man.
Dude, it's mutual. I've loved this opportunity, man. You be sure to stay safe out there tonight.
I will, bro. I will. Y'all have a good.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, you too, man. Later.
Later.
I'll check you, dude.
Peace.
There we go.
So, and to finish that point really quickly, again, like I say it in a funny way, but me and Adam have been connected in a lot of different ways. And we've had a lot of similar experiences or different stuff like that. So I feel like, I'll write a section, or I'll write something, and it'll speak to him, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or whatever the case is, when I was just writing it because that's just how I felt. But this song specifically, excuse me.
You're good.
This song just has like so much of that, so much of this, like, just emotional connection and emotional weight and stuff like that. And it was like, how can we my goal every time is always, how can I convey that stuff to you in a way that's, it's still metal, it's still heavy, it's still, whatever, evil, dark, however you want to interpret it. But
yeah,
there's a message there, there's a deeper message there that's more important than how heavy the breakdown is, or the weird, crazy noises that Adam's making, or the way that I'm singing. You know what I mean? I just watched watching reactions is one of my favorite things, man. Like I every single time you put out a reaction, I watch it. Every single time.
I appreciate that.
No matter how big or small the YouTube channel is, I watch every single one of those reactions, because I truly want to know what people think of the stuff that it is. And I mean this in the best way possible. I'm not writing the songs for anybody else other than myself, but it's always interesting. I always love to know what people think about it. And there was a reaction that I'll reference. I'm not gonna say any names, but it was for Siamo or for Terror. And man, did that dude hate the vocals. He hated the clean singing. And it was interesting to watch, because I know the song, obviously, and a lot of times, I would say 9 out of 10 times these reactions are first time hearing a song. And this one was this guy's first time hearing the song, because he didn't listen to the album, he checked out the singles and stuff. And I know the clean singing is coming. He doesn't know that. So as he's listening to it, and we get to the first clean singing section, which is behind Adam's part,
Mhm.
he was like, he was super into it, and then that part came in, and he went, and then they continued listening, and he was still into it. And then when my part kicks in for the first time, where I'm singing by myself,
Mhm.
he literally went, "Oh, God, no!" And I'm just like, I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, this guy. And my girlfriend, I'll never forget. My girlfriend she was sitting right here on the floor,
Mhm.
and she doesn't like to watch it, but she wants to be there because she's one of those like secondhand embarrassment people. So
Yeah.
she's more embarrassed or uncomfortable. She gets actually not embarrassed. She gets uncomfortable watching those as if she's the person that made it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, I know what's happening. I made the song. I know how it is. And she
Mhm.
says it when she's watching them. She's like, how do you do this? I was like, I love to know. I just love to
Yeah.
know. But we get to the part, I said it like after that, I was like, wait till he gets to the middle, dude. Cause I start singing more.
Yeah.
And we got to the middle and he did not like it. He was not happy. Not
Mm.
happy. Gets to the end of the song and he was super unhappy about it.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I get it. I've always known that this was, I said it to my girlfriend
A
a million and one
risk.
times. Like, I knew this was a risk. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it was the difference with this album versus the last one. And I'm not going to count God Killer in there because God Killer has
Its
clean
own
vocals,
thing.
but that was after. It's exactly its own thing. And it was also written after Eternity.
Mhm.
After all these decisions were made with Eternity, it was, I'm going to do this stuff because this is what the songs are calling for. You know, this is
Yeah.
something that a conversation that me and my old drummer had a bunch of years ago. Shout out to my boy Brandon. It was something that me and him were talking about. We were like throwing out all these crazy ideas. Oh, we should do this in a song. We should do that in a song. And I remember we stopped for a second. We thought about all the different crazy shit and crazy ideas we just came up with, and we were like, you know what? Let's just do what the song calls for. Let's just do what
Mhm.
sounds right. You know what I mean? Let's not go, because that's something. As soon as I sit down to write a song, and I say I'm going to write a song that does this, never fucking works. The
Mhm.
song ends up being crap. Like right now, I'm stuck. I'm stuck on track number 6 of the next record, and I
Yeah.
can't get past this song because every time I go to try to write a new song or work on something, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna write a song that kind of has this vibe, and then
Right.
it ends up sounding like garbage. But the clean singing, and especially in this song, because funny enough, this song was actually supposed to be an album cut, but
Mm.
Jesse was like, nah, dude, that song is great. And this was
It's
way
great.
before the song had any lyrics or before the song was done. It was like up to the point where my clean singing part starts. And then the part directly after it, and that was all I was written. And
Mhm.
I was showing them, this was years ago, I was showing the guys, and I was like, oh no, I might scrap this one. And he was like, nah, dude, you got to finish that.
Yeah, keep it, man.
And I thank him greatly for it because it came out to be one of our favorite songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Terror.
Right.
We'll speed run the Trinity because it's the trilogy. People are calling them trilogies. I call this one the Trinity because it's related to the album.
Yeah. Yeah. That's more relevant to the album's lore, per se.
Exactly. So I'll speed run this one real quick. The Hunt of the Wraith, the Court of the Trinity. I'm sorry, the Hunt of the Wraith, the Book of the Eldritch, and the Court of the Trinity are and also by just their name, first movement, second movement, final movement.
Yes.
Those are just references to classical orchestral music because I'm
Okay.
a huge fan of classical and orchestral music, which I'm pretty sure is obvious based on the orchestral elements on the
Yeah.
albums, or on the album and everything else. Which, spoiler alert, it's not going anywhere.
Good.
It's only becoming more a part of our music. So yeah, that'll be my quick little tidbit for the future of our music, the stuff I'm working on currently. I almost want to create this like fake hype that the album is an orchestral album that just has some metal parts to it. I'm gonna say that and let that be what it is. We just use that as the soundbite.
Let's do it.
It's like, yeah, this is the next album is going to be an orchestral album with some metal influence.
Let's do it.
But in all honesty, that the orchestral classical stuff's not going anywhere. It's only becoming more and more because I'm studying it more, becoming more into it and stuff. But The Trinity, it was not meant to be that. It was not three songs that were meant to be together at all, actually. They were, I'm pretty sure that's track 5, 6, and 7.
Mhm.
Originally, it was track 5. Track 5 was always The Hunt of the Wraith, which that was originally called The Hunt of Hounds. It had a bunch of different names, but The Hunt of the Wraith. Was the way more logical because it's an immediate reference to terror. Back to the first lyric of the song of "Here I lay, bound to the hunt." So it was like the hunt of the wraith. So now it's like this is what it actually is. This is the hunt of that character, right? So it's telling that piece of the story again. That non-linear storytelling is my favorite thing.
Sorry, one second. Continue, sir.
You're good. You're good. Yeah, the Hunt of the Wraith. That song was. It's actually the slowest song on the album. It's at like 112 BPM or something like that. But that allowed it to be like super rhythmic, which I, like a lot of us, I'm a fucking huge fan of Meshuggah. So it was like, how can I make something just like, how can I homage Meshuggah somehow?
Okay.
Just something super groovy, something rhythm based that's not too ridiculous. But the whole intro is like that, big, epic black metal, whatever thing and stuff. Like the original version of it had a bunch of shitty chords in the beginning of it, but I learned music theory in the time of working on that album, and I was like, I need to fix this because it sounds bad. So I cleaned it up. The chords sound a lot better. Lyrical content. This song is super. I think it's super obvious as far as like it being like this is the official transition into telling the truth of the album. And this happens in because it happens technically because it's other things. This album was supposed to be 10 tracks long, but then I ended up deciding on 9 because that would put 5 dead in the middle. So you have 4 on both sides, and then have the 5th song dead smack in the middle.
Okay.
But it's also the first part of the Trinity. It's also it's a lot of stuff. That song plays a lot of points where terror is the bridge. Terror is the lead up to the bridge, and hunt is the bridge.
Yes. Okay.
So it's like that's dead smack in the middle of the album. So the whole first half of the album is setting it up, and the second half of the album is where shit hits the fan.
Yes.
So you have the lyrical section, like the pre-chorus is really where that stuff starts to come alive, where the lyric is, "Are you hurt? Did you lose your way? Now take my hand and come with me. Don't be afraid. Everything will be okay. Don't worry. Deceit comes natural to me." So it's like, are you okay? You're fine, right? Here, I got you. Come with me. Come on. I got you. You'll be okay. I'm just letting you know I'm lying to you. But yeah, come on. That's literally what I when I was writing the ideas and I was telling Adam, I was like, I want this to be really obvious. So the last lyric is literally, deceit comes natural to me. I'm lying to you. Like, I'm just gonna tell you.
Right.
And then the chorus, lead me to damnation. Lead me to damnation. Back to where I know all who suffer, oh great usurper, your path imbued with soot and sulfur. Again, super obvious. Now I'm starting to understand it. Thanks, man. The fact that that makes me so happy. yeah, it's like it's this song is the one where it's like, all right, holy shit, I've been lied to this whole fucking time. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I guess this is I'm in too deep at this point. You know what I mean? Like that's what the
Mhm.
point of the album. That's where you are in the record. You're in too deep now. Now you're fucking. Now it's going down.
No way
So
back.
it's like that's why exactly. So that's why I'm saying it. Like lead me to damnation. All right, it
Mhm.
be what it be. And as we progress, and I'll talk. This will actually direct into the next song. More of the lyrical content too. Like directly after the chorus, the first chorus, it's the lyric. The river has claimed another. Like
Mhm.
it's like this. You're not the first person to go through this. You know what I
No.
mean? You're not the first person to have these problems. You're not the first person to. You're not the only person to deal with this. You're not the only person
Yeah.
in the world who has these thoughts or these feelings. So it's there's a there.
Oh,
Hello?
1 second.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my AirPods died.
I think you might need to turn the mic up a little bit, but I can hear you. That's when the podcast has been pretty long now. So the AirPods die.
Okay, how about now? What are we looking at?
Just a little bit more.
More? Okay.
Yeah.
Get a little more juice in here. Okay, let's bump it to. How about that?
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
Cool. Yeah, it was. Hold on, sorry.
You're good.
Let's go right about there. Hey. Okay.
Yo.
All right. Yeah, that let's see, there we are. Yeah, the river claims another, like again, like that concept of, you're not the only person to deal with these problems. And,
Yes.
and even though, we just came out of the other song where it's like the whole point of the song is actually not even that song, but we just came out of a bunch of songs where we flat out said like, mental seclusion and
Mhm.
all this stuff. Like a lot of
That
that
is
stuff.
not the way.
I'm sorry.
It's like that is not the way.
Exactly, man. It's like you seclude yourself, you end up isolating yourself from a lot of things, and a lot of things that, and not even just people who can help you, but just a lot of different things,
Opportunities.
opportunity for help, you know what I mean? And for a lot of us in the metal community, that thing is metal,
Mhm.
and the community that is metal. That's why, not to get too deep into this concept, but that's one of the reasons why like the whole fucking just toxicity in this community is insane. It's insane. We're all here for almost the same reasons. How are we this toxic to each other? I don't get it. Oh, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm gonna get off my soapbox and keep talking about my album. Yeah, so like that's what that is. You know what I mean? Like it's really a lot of like because we even say it in the chorus, like I mean the pre-chorus, like, are you hurt? Like, did you lose your way? Like that stuff is there, but then we got to keep it in theme to the record, and it becomes dark again. But that now transitions into just a piece of kind of like insider stuff with this song too. The solo that's in this song it was this close to being the pre-pro scratch version of the solo, because the solo was too perfect to re-record it. I ended up re-recording it anyway, but it's not, to me, everyone has heard the version that they heard, but to me, it's not as good as the pre-pro version of the solo.
Interesting.
The pre-pro version of the solo, to me, it was the right solo for what it was, but it was one of those kind of things where the magic was in the recording of it, and like wherever I was when I tracked it, I might have been in my old apartment, whatever the case is, it was the right version of that solo. But unfortunately, it was a little out of key. Oh, I realize I'm also okay. That might be better too. I realized I was slightly panned to the right. The original solo was a little out of key because of certain sections, and I was changing stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the version of solo that's there, still dope. I still love it. It's still one of my favorite solos.
It's great.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite solos I've ever written. I took some risks with it, especially that dive bomb at the end, which when I was looking at the notes and like learning all that stuff and learning key and learning notes and theory and stuff, I was like, that note is not right. But then as I kept learning a little bit deeper, thankfully I did keep learning, and I didn't immediately change it.
Yeah.
I found out that it actually is accurate. It is actually But that's just like some small details with that. Then the ending, the orchestral ending was originally there, but I then bridged it into Eldritch, which originally it wasn't. technically speaking, the song that was supposed to come after this one is the last song, Vicious Attenuation.
Mm.
But Eldritch as I was going through and changing the track list, Eldritch just worked perfectly.
Yeah.
The original version of this, which I'm going to shout out to my beautiful girlfriend, Kelly. She that girl is the fucking best. She supports a lot of my ridiculous ideas. And one of my ridiculous ideas was when I was before I got heavy into orchestration parts of like really heavy into it. The beginning of that song originally was just like these really dooky sounding strings.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were not well written at all because I didn't know theory yet. I had some dooky ass samples that weren't that good. But I had this crazy idea. I was like, yo, how cool would it be if we had a choir singing which is actually not in the song anymore, but there was a vocal at the end of Vicious Attenuation, like that whole part where it's just the band riffing until the very end of the song.
Yeah.
There was originally a long, clean vocal section over that, and then there was like this like interweaved like screaming vocal thing that I did.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't right. So we'll
next time
talk about it in a minute. But that the part lyrically, I had this idea of having a choir sing the lyrics in Italian over this part, over the intro to Eldritch. But I don't know a choir that sings Italian. So I was like, I kind of sing. So I write it out. I Google translated it. I had a friend of mine ask a different friend to verify that it was accurate. Because I have a friend, we have a mutual friend that speaks Italian.
Okay.
I had them verify the lyrical content was accurate, and then we went from there, and it was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna just track this crazy idea. I did it, but it was missing something. I asked my girlfriend, I was like, babe, just do me this favor, just do me a favor, I need you to sing all this crazy shit with all these weird harmonies and shit. And she sang in the whole thing. I just listened to it for the first time in a couple of days ago. It sounds like shit. Oh, dude, it sounds so bad. It sounds so bad. The idea is there. It's super there. I that's the thing. I have all these crazy ideas. I want to try wild shit. And then I'll try it and realize it was bad. The idea was super cool. I think if I put it in the hands of people who were way more capable, it might have been super awesome. But it just I'm doing pre-pro. I'm sitting in my fucking in one of the spare bedrooms in my house, and this is when I was in the room next to this one. And I just called my girlfriend. I was like, all right, just roll with me. All right, just do the sing when I'm singing, but sing it in this note. And I would hit a note on my keyboard, and then I would have her sing that note. Okay, sing this note, and then we sing that, and I tuned the whole thing.
That's cool.
And it took forever. It took way too long just for me to listen to it like the next day. And I was like, this is fucking horrible. It's like, forget it. So yeah, that ended up when I got better at orchestration and all that kind of stuff. I just wrote that big long intro that it is now. We added that vocal part that's in the beginning of the song that wasn't there. We added that pretty last minute with that ingest your final thoughts as I flay your mind before your eyes. That lyric, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, it's a lyric that has to do with the lore of the story. I just really wanted to use the word flay because I just thought flay your mind sounds really cool, considering the concepts and the theory logic, and I'm sorry, the lore of the story that we're talking about. Flay works perfectly, but it also sounds super evil if you say flay anything.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Mind Flayer, Stranger Things, boom.
Exactly. So yeah, there's that. But this song is the song that has one of my favorite lyrical passages in the entire album. Okay. Which I'll read here, which is so there's a lot of this one section has a lot of musical concepts attached to it, but I just switched them to make them more lyrical. So it's this section is leading into the next section, but it's a cacophony of psalms sung loud by disciples, voiced in demonic unison. That then transitions into the next part, which is my favorite part, which is they play to you. Can you feel it? The strings vibrating, bows grace your end in harmonic enslavement. Listen intently, for you must not miss it. A symphony tuned beautifully to your doom. That is one of my I think it is the best thing I've ever written, and it's probably my favorite thing I've ever written.
Some slam poetry right there.
And it thank you. It was like I like I said, I'm a huge fan of the orchestra and classical elements, choir and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, what ways can I say that in the story of all this, right? And it's like, we're talking about something that's happening while you're listening to it. You're listening to which there may come a time where the orchestral version of this album comes out. It might
That'd
not
be cool.
It might not, only because it was not technically complete. So there are like chunks of nothing.
Yeah,
it's like you got all this choir and orchestra and all this beautiful stuff, and it's silent. It just disappears. Because quite honestly, I didn't know what to do. I would just be real with you. I didn't know what to do. Where now that I have more knowledge under my belt, the songs are now full songs.
Yes.
So the next record may have a orchestral version. But
sick.
This one, it had like just that concept attached to it, right? Like this kind of like very musical thing. And then this is the chorus that surprisingly I haven't really heard much about, because this was the chorus I was most nervous for, because I'm singing real fucking high. But it's I can feel it as the terror slowly creeps around my head, infecting what's left of me, the abyss consuming. So again, those concepts, the terror.
All back to the abyss.
Exactly. And then throughout the song, you'll get directly after that, at the cusp of the field, you'll find a stairway down. We keep coming back to that stuff because I want that to stick. You know what I mean? I want those ideas to stick. I want those lyrics to stick, because the last lyric of the album is a part of that. And then, another conceptual piece being the Dark Night of the Soul, which is a very interesting concept to look into, that I won't spoil. It's very, very, it's very introspective and very like, it's a very personal thing, which is why I implore anyone who's listening to this, as well as you as well, if you have not heard it, Sean, look into the Dark Night of the Soul. It's a very interesting kind of like written concepts and stuff.
Sick.
But yeah, and then you have the whole end of the song, which is just like the kind of like now I'm telling you, like from my perspective, being it's a callback to a lyric earlier in the song, which I'll say, which was Adam's, which was have you begun the sermon, the eldritch transformation carried out by the wraith devouring depression? When it comes back later in the song and I'm singing it, it's I have begun the sermon, my eldritch transformation, guided through by the wraith, attuned to my depression. So it's that, it's the just a callback kind of thing, yes, but it's also, from a lyrical perspective, it's the literal representation of I am saying, like, I have, I've begun the sermon. I'm starting to accept it. I'm starting to realize that this is what it is, and it's being led by the wraith, which we find out in the story that the wraith is Adam. Adam is this other part of my mind is the wraith. We're just, again, we're assigning names to these things to make them more real.
Yes.
No matter how not real they are, or no matter how real they may seem, when it's like that concept with an animal. If you name an animal, you've now become connected to it, even just by naming it. That's why you'll see it in farms, like they won't name a cow or something, because it's like, no, it's not a pet, it's food. It's not meant to be connected to, but as soon as you name something, you become connected to it.
Yes.
So in this case, it's like, it's me naming the problems. It's like that's essentially what that is. So being the wraith, like that's a name, whether it's a positive or a negative name, it's a name nonetheless.
Yes.
And it says, in this case, it's not devouring depression, but it's attuned to my depression. It's the same frequency as my depression. It is.
Yes.
So it's like, that's what that is. Where when Adam said it, it's devouring depression. It's consuming, and it's living off of that. But then in this case, I say that it's attuned to it. And then before that, sorry, I jumped the gun. Adam says, the mouth of eternity consuming. Because again, it's that, like, we want it to be, eternity is this like looming real thing in all of this lore and all of this stuff that's not real, the stuff that's in your mind. The one thing that's real is that concept is whatever happens is for eternity. It's like, that's what that is. And then smooth transition into Court of the Trinity. which that again is just like the big monster of the song. Is fucking 7 minute just beast mode the whole time. I don't think the song at any point drops below 125 or 130 BPM or 250 for the drummers out there. Jesse could tell you that more specifically, but that song, it just beats you to hell the whole way.
Yeah.
Lyrically, it's just a fucking unforgiving beast. I also apologize to Adam for this one because it's like I was like, what if we do this and this and this and this and it kept going. So now when I listen to the song, I'm listening to the song and I'm just like, oh, man. And we're figuring out the set for live stuff, and the guys put this song in there, and I'm like, you guys are nuts. They're like, yeah, we should play Court. I was like, oh god, okay. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun when the live stuff happens. It's gonna be a fun set.
I'm sure, man.
Yeah, so it's like this song is like, again, we're getting closer and closer to the end. So like the very beginning of the song, the lyric being cling to the edge of the river, peer into the deep. You know, it's like you're there, bro. It's that's it. You're getting off that boat. You're here now. You are at the field. You are in this realm of whatever. You know what I mean? It's like peer into the deep. Know what your existence was, and know that, you know, whatever your plight, whatever you're going through is there. You know? And then it's just, this song is a little bit less of a like deep dive personally,
yeah,
more of the lore of the story really, because this song was kind of written very early, and it kind of just took shape, and then I adjusted the lyrics over time, so that they fit the story a little bit better, because this one, like I said, was just a lot of cool concepts and different ideas that we had, and you know, it being the longest song on the record, if memory serves correctly, it's the longest song on the record.
Probably, yeah.
It just had like a lot of cool ideas that I just wanted to throw
in.
Of course, yes, it's attached. It has all of the same stuff. There is one thing in there that is very personal to me, and I would go as far as to say me and the Black community, being it's a very weird way to say it, but there's a lyric in here that says blades will swing, attaching pain to your ancestry, and that's talking about generational trauma,
right?
You know, I not to get too deep into, you know, Black culture and Black history and stuff, but that specifically is speaking to generational trauma, and that concept of generational trauma, that something, you know, like slavery, for example, was something that I don't give a fuck who you are, no matter how much you want to try to forget it or try to pretend it didn't happen. It is one of the worst atrocities that this country has ever fucking done. You know, and then that can transition not only just to the Black community, but every single people that have been fucking persecuted and been put down by America. You know what I mean? Like, it's just what it is. You know, I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't care where you're from or whoever you are. For me, it's that's what that is. That is talking about the slavery and the different pieces of generational trauma, and you know, racism and things prior to the civil rights movement, and then even things after. So, you know, like people want to say that, oh, don't get political, whatever, like that. This to me is not political. This to me is about deep rooted and deep existence of problems. But that's just, you know, one lyric in the whole entire album that has any sort of potential political fucking
dude, whatever. It's your thing. You're doing your thing.
You know, it's like, look, bro, I'm a Black man in a very white ran genre. It's gonna come into it. You know, I'm gonna say something. It's just gonna happen.
Utilize your platform. Utilize your ability to make art and write music and fucking represent your culture.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And you know, like that's where that comes from. But I really don't like getting political and metal. It's just it's something that's just, to me, is unnecessary. But you know, like, this to me is not something that's political. It's more about like just human rights. But you know, like the chorus again is just a good reference, like fire from the old gods, you know, it's just different stuff like that, just like referring throughout the album, and kind of tying the story together, and less more of the personal connection that we have to the whole entire record. And then, like I said, this was the one that almost broke Jesse. Again, shout out to my boy. He's my man's, and he got through it. But I remember, dude, that there were a couple of, I think we took 4 days to record this song, 3 days maybe.
Oh shit.
And it was 8-hour days, except for the last day was like 10 and a half, almost 11 hours of that kid just fucking playing straight. He didn't fucking eat, dude. All he did, I'm not kidding, and I'm not trying to sensationalize the story. All he did was play drums, eat protein bars, and pee. That was it. That's all he did the whole time was drink.
Devoted to his craft.
He drank some red juice. It was like, I think it was pre-workout. I don't know what it was. He was just drinking some red shit, eating protein bars, and he would just get up every like 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours to go pee. It's like, bruh, I peed 16 times in the last 32 minutes. Like, why are you going to the bathroom once every 3 to 5 hours? But he didn't want to get up from that kit, man. He was determined to get through that track. And then every night, and it was just him, and the guy recording the engineer Chris recording that track, recording the drums. And we got to the last day of that song, and we were like, okay, we got to finish the song because we got fucking, this was I think the second song we recorded. It was like, we got fucking 7 more songs to record, bro. We got to get through this. We get to the last day, and we're on, like I said, we're on like hour 10, hour 11, and I'm sorry, it was the day before. Sorry about that. It was the end of the second day, or third, whatever. He comes to the control room. He's sitting on the couch. I'm sitting on the chair, and he's like hanging his head because he's just like, he's like, dude, he was like,
I'm
yo,
done.
He literally said to me, he was like, yo, I'm sorry, bro. I was like, oh, fuck that. No, sorry. You are doing something that I can't believe you're doing, which is playing this shit. Fuck that. Sorry, nothing. You're fucking killing it. We're halfway through the song, you know. And it's what I was talking about. You know, your own.
You are your own worst critic.
He was just beating himself up that whole time. He was like, him apologizing to me was almost like, you know, maybe I'm not good enough to do this. I was like, fuck that. Yeah, you are. If you weren't, and I said it to him, like, if something I say to my girlfriend all the time, she hates it. If this wasn't the case, this wouldn't be the case. You know what I mean? So I said to him, I was like, if I didn't think you could do this shit, dude, you wouldn't be in the band. I know you can do this. And that's the reason why I am not worried about this. I was like, you don't need to be worried about me thinking you can do it or not. You know, fuck that. I know you can do it. So at that point, let's figure out, let's get it done, you know?
Right.
But yeah, that was that song. This song's fucking crazy. It's really, really wild. There's some stuff I wish I was able to go back and do over. Vocally, there's some weird stuff I didn't really like. But you know, it happens. And then there's some different stuff I'm gonna do for the next record and different mix ideas and stuff.
Can't wait to hear it, man.
Just committing to different styles, right? You know, because I'm screaming in this song, but I wasn't confident in my screaming for it, so I layered it with my like kind of grittier vocal. It just didn't sound right, and I just should have left it as screaming. But you live and you learn. Which that then ties into the next track, which is
Weep into the Abyss.
Weep into the Abyss.
This is Weep into the Abyss, for it hears you not. I like these track titles. I really do. They're a lot more theater friendly. Like this could be a Royal Albert Hall deathcore album. And that's what's really cool about like this new renaissance of black and deathcore, symphonic black and deathcore, all that. It's great. It's so good for the genre. And it's everything that I've ever wanted to do as a musician. So it's great to see other bands kind of like helping the scene become more comfortable with that.
which that's just this piano ballad. I had this idea. I wanted to just play a really soft piano ballad. And I was sitting here on my little tiny little keyboard, my 49 key keyboard, which I need to get a new one. Now I can actually play the piano. Need a bigger fucking keyboard, which I'm working on. I'll get it eventually, but I just wrote that idea out. I was just playing it, and then there is a recording that is in that in the background of that whole thing. It's super saturated with reverb, so it's very hard to understand, but it's about the S word. It's about that whole thing.
Right.
It's an actual interview of someone asking someone, they survived, and it was like, why did you try that? Why did you do that?
I remember that too. I recall that.
There. It's a little rough to hear the different pieces of it, of course, but it was louder in the original mix, but I didn't want it to be so in your face.
Right.
Because that's a heavy subject, man.
Back of your mind.
Exactly.
Right.
I wanted it to be more of a voice in the background, and
that's so weird too. I'm like, this sounds like an interview.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's cool.
Exactly what it is. It was meant to be a transitional section in the record to get to the end. It's because that is the more hopeful part of the album, to be quite transparent. It's like that one single section is the only section in the album where we talk about this heavy ass topic and it has a positive outcome. And then that goes into the next song, which for us, yeah, exactly. We get into the next song, Vicious Attenuation. Is a reference to Court of the Trinity, because there's a part in the middle of that song where we say where is it?
Oops, sorry.
You're good. I don't remember where it is, but the lyric is it's up here. It is god damn, the song's so long. I thought it would be way easier to find this, because there's a lyric before it that I cannot remember. But I really can't find this part. Oh, here it is. Oh, yep, here it is. Okay. It's it's deforming so beautifully, ceremoniously separating the horror, the terror, the abyss, vicious attenuation of the whole. It's saying that the terror, the horror, the terror, and the abyss, that's the Trinity. The vicious attenuation of the whole is essentially saying that all three of those things being kind of melded into one thing is a violent act. But it's, you get to the vicious attenuation of the whole thing being, it's violently putting those things together. And it's gonna be a mess, like that's pretty much what it is. But yeah, we get to the last song on the record, which is essentially that. It's the last stop on it. It's last stop to eternity. And then you get to the entire thing, and it's just talking about the concept of adding another name to the book. And that's and we say that in a lot of different ways. Like the part here is fractured bones lay at my feet, to the ledger your name must be added. And it's like, there's nowhere left to go, the field has claimed yet another, prepare your sight for what is left to come. It's super. This song is extremely bleak. Extremely
as
bleak.
It should be, with a tragedy. You can't exactly like have a tragedy hopeful, like, no, this is not, there's no redemption arc here for our character.
Exactly. And I feel like and this is the song that in the chorus I'm doing some screaming vocals. So I start the screaming and then Adam does the highs. So when you listen to the chorus, the lower mids is me, and then the higher vocal is Adam.
Sweet.
And yeah, this song is is super fucking, it's super bleak, you know,
As it should be. Yeah.
I think some of the more directly darker lyrics, for example, like the this part, what's left to feel when nerves exist no more, the terror you face has been written in lore, congruent with the pain you chase, I am here to rip you down from grace. It's a lot of like very obvious, like, yo, nah, this shit's bad, you know. Then we get to one of my favorite parts of the entire record, which was one of my favorite things to record, which was one of Adam's last vocals in the set, in the whole song, which is the whole ending. Oh no, that's my lyrics that I deleted. Wait, where are they? It is here. Darkness is, wait, where is it? Do I not have it written here? Oh yeah. No, yeah, it's here. Okay. There is nowhere left to go. The field is claimed. Yeah, it's the same part. Claimed another, prepare your mind for what is to come. Then it's prepare your mind for what is left to come. The only thing left is the end. Let my darkness in and embrace the terror. Adam did that in one take, and it was wild because like when you listen to that part, like as soon as the part drops, is like when the tempo drops down and then the part comes in. Adam did the from the part where he says, when he starts off and he says added, and it's like a really long scream, and then it gets built with these other screams around it that added.
I remember that.
Obviously not the ones built around, but that main line from then on is one take. And I'll never forget it. It was, again, you know, my room was set up a little differently at the time, but my desk was against this wall, and Adam was actually in this corner, and I had this I have a photo rig that set up the what's it called? The stands for it. It's like for a backdrop. I set the stands for it, and I just wrapped Adam in like this like makeshift vocal booth because I didn't want to put him in my closet that I have here that I can empty out and use for vocals, because I wanted him in the room so that we can like kind of feed that energy.
Yes.
And as he was doing that part, and re-recording this album was very interesting because we were trying different things and it just didn't work, and we were like 2 days in and like the vocals weren't coming out the way we wanted it to, but you know, we were trying to record a different way and it was just more taxing. So we just decided to go back to our old way of just, we get an idea, let's record the vocal exactly how we have the idea, instead of trying to say, all right, let's do all the highs now, let's do all the lows now. But he started this part and he did pieces of it, and we did it in chunks, and I was like, yeah, it still doesn't sound that good. It still doesn't have the emotion that we're looking for. It doesn't have that like almost desperation that I'm looking for. So I was like, you know what, dude, just fucking blast it. Just hit it. Whole thing. Just hit the whole fucking thing. And he tried it. Still didn't work, oddly enough. And then, you know, we kind of just sat here for a second. We were a little upset that it wasn't happening. And then he was like, fuck it, let me just give it nothing. He threw the headphones on, went behind that mic. I just hit record, and I was like, cool. Just let it run. And he just fucking rips it. And then the last scream is super long. And as soon as we finish it and I hit stop, like my girlfriend from the kitchen, she screams, "Oh my God."
That's amazing. I love that.
I was like, that's how you know it was right. Because she's been here the whole time. She's been listening to this dude scream with no music, because it's just us in a room. We have headphones on. So all she hears is silence and then the loudest fucking screaming on the planet. And then silence, and then more screaming. It's just, so it's super random. But that was a long section, and the whole thing is a high. And he is he's singing it practically. He's fucking going for it. And he got to the end of it. I hit stop. She just from the other room, "Oh my God." It was fucking hilarious. And I said to him, I was like, that's the keeper. That's how you know right there, dude. Where somebody else is like, holy shit, what was that? And she's been here the whole week. She's been hearing him do the vocals. When you get that kind of reaction out of someone who's been hearing it for a while, they're like, where someone who, again, not really into metal, my girlfriend's getting into it now, but she's not really into it that much. And when you get that reaction from someone who's not into it but can understand and respect it, that's when you know, all right, cool, yep, that's it. And then we hit the very end of the record, which is the last and most depressing line. So accept the rot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the beautiful fucking nylon guitar, which again, you know, I wanted to end the record the same way I started it, in a way that you don't expect. You expect it to be the big grandiose ending, and then it's over. You know, it's like big grandiose ending, and then really soft acoustic guitar that's also being played under the sound of wind, like just soft wind howling through a house.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that empty feeling. You know what I mean? Like that's so it's just like I didn't want to try to reference the intro again or use the same musical themes. It was like, I'll take the same concept. The continual theme from the intro and the ending is the rain and all that kind of stuff. But the melody is different, obviously. But the instrument is it's way more stripped down. Where the intro is this big orchestral epic, the ending is a big orchestral epic that drops to just a single nylon guitar.
Right.
And
sick.
Then we get the end of that, and we get that nice little ending chord, and there we go.
And that was eternity.